Hello again, great to see you and welcome to the Blink podcast. This is episode 6. I'm your host, Jonathan Creek. Shortly, we'll be joined by the man with the most over the ditch, Darren Prattley. He is the bomb of everything accountability, and that is the topic today. Accountability in your business, accountability in your life. Welcome to Blink and welcome, Darren Prattley. How are you, mate?
Hey, Jonathan, great to be here, mate. Good to see you. And this is my topic. I'm so pleased with careful negotiations with you. We came up to bring this topic to the front because I'm sure that our listeners are going to get a heap of value out of today's podcast. So I'm really excited to have this topic. How you been, mate?
I'm very good. Yeah, whether they're listening across all the great podcast platforms, or, of course, watching this on our YouTube channel, the information remains the same. The experience slightly different. You can just put up with our dulcet tones, or you can go over to YouTube and look at our ugly mugs. Your choice.
Just like that. Just like that.
Yeah, they would be able to, if they were on YouTube, they would be able to admire your beautiful maroon jacket.
It's I got the red on today.
The red, I like it. What are the shoes?
They match.
Shoe guy.
Yeah, no, they match.
You're not going to share today? It's a Facebook thing. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to admire some of the great shoes of the world, go and find Darren on Facebook, Darren Prattley. And every once a week he gives us a look into the world of shoes. There are some shoes that you've got that I never knew existed. Let's put it that way.
It's definitely something I'm keen to hunt out the next best pair. So no, all good. All right.
Let's get started. So let's be accountable into accountability. Now, we are going to be putting up graphics on the screen. So if you are listening, we will read those graphics to you. You won't be missing out on anything. But this today is all about accountability. Darren, just off the top, how important is it?
I reckon today in business, this is probably the number one reason why I get called into businesses to help, because there's a lot of people within businesses that got great ideas, they've got great intentions. They've actually got some really unique things that can actually help develop and grow their business. But one of the key parts that they struggle with is actually getting them implemented into their business and being accountable for that implementation. So I really focus on this and really help my teams that I work with to realize the more accountability that we can put around your team and your business, the more success that you possibly can have. But you and I both know, as soon as I mention this word accountability, there's that feeling in their gut, there's that thought in their head, there's that sweaty palms going, oh no, and this is partly the challenge with it, because as I mentioned to you earlier, not everybody really wants to feel that accountability wand over the top of what they're doing, because it makes them feel really uncomfortable.
Yes, and I am one of those. So whenever you talk to me about the things I have to do and when I have to do them by, and if I don't do them, the spray that you give me. Now, you got to understand, people, Darren and I have a mutual relationship here where he's actually probably helping me a lot more at the moment with my business. He's turned it around for me, to be honest. Well, not turned it around, but restructured it in a way that is just incredibly efficient. It's amazing. But I get the same scenario when it comes to marketing and social media marketing and having to create content that may not necessarily deliver you a knockout sale from the post. And I think that's comes from a bit of misunderstanding of what they're actually trying to do. Yep. Long game versus short game. Yep. But I think accountability is one of those really, really interesting things that not only affects every part of your business, but I think at the moment, particularly on the back end of COVID, where stress levels have been high, different freedoms have been afforded while other freedoms have been taken away. So work from home, Are you getting dressed up? Are you in the office by 9 o'clock? Maybe you're not, you're tripping over the dog before you get into the office at 15:15, or you don't have a meeting till 10, so maybe you're walking the dog. I think there's been a little bit of flexibility that's come in, and accountability has been the victim. And I wonder whether that is going to add to the angst that people feel when people like yourself come in and say, listen, guys, I know that you're working from home. I know that you enjoy it, but these are non-negotiable things that you are being held accountable for. And someone like me is going to come in. Your boss is paying me a lot of money, and for those listening, a lot of money, to hold these people accountable. And I wonder whether we're going to get some pushback, or maybe that's the trigger for the great resignation. Well, if you're going to hold me accountable, I'm going to go somewhere that doesn't.
But just imagine that concept of not being accountable for the revenue that you are responsible for, or not being accountable for the tasks that you are employed to do. I really struggle with this from an employer perspective. Is imagine being in an environment where you're paying people to do a particular job or role and they're not doing it, but they're still being paid. I just don't think that's smart business. And we actually have to start becoming a lot more disciplined and clearer around what that accountability process looks like. So I think we've got 7 really key factors here that we can work our way through, which I know will give our listeners some really key points to take away and improve their accountability.
We've let the cat out of the bag there, Darren. There's 6, and now you've got to come up with a bonus one before we get to the end of the 6. So,
I've got it.
But I think let's put this in perspective with the real world. So if you're a business owner, talent is short.
Yeah.
Right? So you're worried about losing your staff. There's a wave among society at the moment that, you know what, just don't put up with any old job. Don't just work for the man. Savor your time being happy rather than slaving away to be happy in 20 years' time. Yep. So be happy now. And then, accountability and work and offices were built like a waterproof container. Bosses wanted you in the workplace so they could check on you to ensure that you were doing what you're being paid to do.
Yep.
Now we've got governments and regulators coming in and saying, you can't force your staff to work. In fact, in Australia, in Victoria where I am, the order is still work from home if you can. Like yep. there's nothing an employer can do to say you have to come to the office and work today. They can turn around and say, no, I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And so that canister of the office environment now has cracks in it and leaks in it. And, the popular commentary is that we're never going to return back to that. It is going to be a balance of work from home and office.
So what you're telling me is the only way we hold accountability is by having people in an office looking over their shoulder every 5 minutes to make sure they're doing the tasks?
Traditionally.
And that's our change, right? That's the developing environment. And that's really important for us to be talking about today, because that's why when there's sweaty palms and that gut feel as soon as accountability gets mentioned is because of what we would deem to be accountability chickens in previous business environments. And I'm saying today, we've got to change this, because I say to owners and managers, and think about this from a real estate perspective, I actually say most of your salespeople would treat accountability now as the way you're showing your care and the ability to support your team. If you don't have accountability in your business and your team, then I would hasten to add that maybe you're not supporting and looking after your team as well as you should.
Here's the next concept that goes through my head when we talk about this topic. I believe it's a poison chalice. That when you stop being accountable for your actions and you're not doing what you used to do because your environment's changed, you're working from home, whatever. When it becomes time to be held accountable, you feel yep. so sick about it that you haven't done what you're going to do. You know yep. that you're going to be judged. You know that you're going to probably cop a spray. Yep. You're going to cop it. You're going to be found out. And that makes you feel sick in the stomach. That adds to your stress. And when you're stressed, you're less effective at work. You're less likely to be in the brain space where you can just go back and do the work and get yourself back in the game. And so you end up in this cycle where you just, your foundations are cracking away and your workforce is crumbling underneath you. So it's going to be the skills of a great leader to navigate their workforce through this time of change, because what we're experiencing at the moment is, yes, it's been going for 2 years, but for a lot of business owners, They've just been focusing on surviving, getting
Yeah.
people used to working away from the office or whatever it is. Now it's going to become a bit normal, so they can't go back to their traditional methods of measurement or assessment. And so while we're in this time of change, until those tools come in that allow bosses to measure effectiveness and accountability, there's going to be gaps. I reckon there's going to be leaks. There's going to be ways that sneaky, and humans are inherently sneaky, ways they can cheat the system a bit.
Yeah.
Now, whether they can cover their numbers or not, that's different. But they're going to come up with 100 different excuses, and they've probably got a few of them that are legitimate that allows them to not be as accountable as previously. Yeah, things like, here at my, I work out of a home office. Yesterday, the house 2 doors down is getting renovated, and the bloke putting in the plumbing cuts through the NBN, and there's no internet.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm working for you, Darren, and I'm an internet-based operation, I can't do anything.
Yep. And that's the nature of the beast, right? And we always know that part is going to be a factor in what we do. But what I want to really focus on is making sure that we get a sense of what are the things that A, we can control, and B, put in place to support and encourage our staff and our teams around that accountability topic.
Perfect. All right, let's get on to number 1, Darren. Point number 1 of accountability: set your business plan and quarterly board meeting to review. What do you mean by this?
Well, this is one of the things that I talk to, and whether you're a team of 1 or 2, or you're a bigger business of 50 or 100 or 150, what I want you to be thinking about here is that you actually have a written business plan. I see so many self-employed business owners, they'll say to me, oh, Darren, I don't need a written business plan. I know my business plan. I know where I'm going. It's all in here. Now, the problem with it all sitting in here is, how quickly do you reckon I can change my business plan if it's sitting in here?
I've changed my business. I've changed my business 5 times this week already. Like,
This is a challenge, right? And this is the piece that we've got to keep making sure and getting understanding of, is that we've got to have a written business plan, and we've got to make sure that that written business plan is going to provide us with some clear parameters of what our direction is, what we're doing, and what our journey is going to become. So that's going to be critical for us, step 1. But then what we need to do as self-employed business owners, seriously, you might have a business plan, but I reckon I can give you 497 excuses why I haven't met all of the items in my business plan or achieved them all, because I can justify to myself the reasons why things haven't been done. But if you set yourself up a board, and what I mean by that is, and I recommend, number 1 is someone who's really good in business. Secondly, someone who's from your industry, who knows the game really well, and your accountant. So if you set those 3 people up with you as well, that meets once a quarter to analyze what you've done in your business over that quarter, you watch how accountability changes in your business, because that board will be looking at your business plan and going, hey, Jonathan, I just wanted to check. You said here by quarter 2 that you wanted to have these 3 things completed. We just would like to know is, where are you tracking with those? Now, being able to do that and put that into place really helps us get some clarity about what we are spending our time on in our business and what are the things we need to be doing.
Yeah, this is an amazing concept, and you talk about the A4 business plan, and that will be a link we'll put in here that you can download.
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't have a business plan, just has to be an A4 sheet of paper that just points out where you intend to take your business and what you intend to do, and and then some targets that you're aiming for that are achievable, so that in a quarter or 6 months you can sit down with someone and see whether you made them or not. Now, I've sat down with my dad when I left big corporate to start my own business, and my dad was a big corporate dude, not big in size, but big, high up in big corporations. And we wrote a business plan, and I can honestly, hand on my heart, Darren, tell you I have not looked at it again. It's sitting in a folder. Like, it was a great exercise to go through, because I was like, totally. Yes, I have a business. These are my audience I'm going to target. This is how I'm going to make money. This is how much I'm going to charge. Does it cover my expenses? Or how many clients do I need to cover my expenses? Bang.
Yep.
It's not since you really got on to me, what, a year ago, 18 months ago, that I really started to knuckle down and build a system of exponential growth, building on building on building on building. In the period between, we're talking nearly 10 years. So 2013 to 2020, so 7 years, of just drifting along and getting, it was a referral business. There was no plan.
And you look today, many businesses that you and I deal with are actually just referral businesses. That's the catch, right?
Mm.
They are just referral businesses. And what we've got to start realizing is that we are in charge of our destiny here, creating a better business plan, setting up a group of people that can hold us accountable to that plan, but always also supporting us in terms of how to achieve those things. And that's why I say get someone who's smart in business, but not from your industry, and get someone who's smart in business from your industry and get your accountant. Because with those three views of the world, they will be able to support you and lead you and encourage you to do the things in your business plan to help grow your success. And I've proven this time and time and time again about how to make sure we put together that board. But you know what happens? As we get after our first board meeting, the date for the second board meeting, gets a bit wobbly, and I'm not sure when I'm going to do it. Now, the problem with that is that mostly comes from I haven't actually got the things done in my plan, and reporting to my board is going to be a little bit depressing. But actually, we have to suck it up, and we have to go along to that meeting that is booked way ahead, and that we sit down and we listen to our board tell us that, hey, we haven't been as effective this quarter as we should have been, and we need to put some plans in place to sort that out. So that number one for me is just so important. And for self-employed business owners, you've got to do it.
Yeah, I think that's an incredible point, is that, I've had mentors and I've got mentors, but never have I formalized the agreement. Like, there are always people I ring and bounce ideas off, and
Sure.
probably don't even need to be labeled mentors, to be honest. They're just people who I trust and I value their opinion, and I ring them and they help me.
Yep.
They're probably just really clever mates. Let's put it like that. Just clever mates. But when you formalize it and say, listen, I want you to come on board. I can't pay you at the moment, but hopefully as a friend, you'll help me out. And then if it booms, I'll help you out somehow. We'll come to an arrangement. But I need you to have 4 meetings with me a year. These are the dates. And essentially, I'm going to report to you like a board. So you're actually making a solopreneur. You're actually formalizing a solopreneur's wish and hope business.
Yep.
You're removing the wish and hope.
Do this. As soon as you do this, I know the ease. Most people, if they get someone approach them and say, hey, I just want you to spend an hour with me once a quarter. And seriously, your board meeting is only an hour long. It's not like it takes a day. It's an hour or maybe an hour and a half. And we just go through the agenda, and it just identifies the things, because all you want is that support and someone to say, hey, I'm just holding you accountable to where you want to take your business, and ensuring that the activities going on within the business are going to take you there.
Yeah, that's right. And if you respect the people who you got on your board, you're going to make sure that you've done something when you turn up. So
100%.
Amazing
100%.
point.
Also, you don't want to let them down, because if they, in many cases, a lot of people do it for free, right? They'll just go, hey, sure, I'll help you out for an hour a quarter. So if that's the case, you don't want to let them down, because there's no point going on to your second meeting and going, actually, I've done nothing on the plan, and sorry, team, and the meeting's over. I mean, that would be embarrassing. So the whole part of this is just to make sure that you've got that clear plan in place.
Incredible. I love it. What a concept, guys. You're getting absolute value here on the Blink podcast. Business lessons from the International Network of Knowledge. Point number 2, Darren. Develop activity list, daily checks on completion.
Yeah, and when I go into many businesses, this is the thing I ask people. I say, can you show me what you got on your plan for today? What are the key priorities of you to get through today? And what are you really wanting to achieve out of today? And I would say probably 70 to 80% of the time, people wouldn't have a clue. A lot of the time it's firefighting. A lot of it's what comes up on the top of their desk. It really isn't considered or planned. And what I want you to really think about here is start developing some activity lists that actually lead you towards your goals in your business plan. So you're saying, actually, these are the things that I've got to achieve, tick off, because that moves me towards your business plan. Because I seriously could make you busy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you actually make no money.
Yeah.
It's not about the hours all the time, it's what we're doing. So,
Mm.
but developing that activity list is really critical. And the second part is, at the end of the day, start having a look at what you've actually achieved. And if you're not ticking the things off, it'll be because you're probably firefighting, or you're allowing just daily interruptions to invade the time that you should be doing the core tasks that are getting you towards that business plan completion.
Mm. I know plenty of people who are experts of being busy but
Yeah.
achieving nothing. Now,
Oh,
one little hack that I do here is I tend to write my list of things to be done the night before.
yep, great. Yep,
And so
brilliant.
then that allows me to actually sleep because I'm not up awake thinking about what are the things I need to get done. I
Yep,
finish my day, I check my activity list for the week, and it's just on a piece of paper. I just write it down.
yep,
I just write it down the side. I look at it, I tick off what I've done. If there's some things outstanding that are important, I move them onto the next day's activity list. I
yep,
draw a box around the day that's done, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Tick
yep,
off what I did, move the ones that still are unresolved for whatever reason, put the new ones on there, do it again the next day. And then what I also like to do is on a Sunday night, I don't suppose everyone would want to do this on a Sunday night, but while the only thing on television is Married at First Sight and you're sort of sitting there, you can just write it in reminders on your phone or notes. I look at what the week's going to do and I say, okay, have I got a busy shooting week? Have I got a busy lead generation week? Have I got a busy speaking week? Am I consulting? Like, what's my week looking like? And basically, I write tasks that I need to get done on certain days that appear emptier.
nice, nice. That's good, man. One of the things that we've started using for me, because obviously with the volume and the amount of work that I'm doing, that to-do list is really important for me. So my personal assistant, what she does is she actually goes through my desk, goes through the projects that I've got on, and she'll identify in the task that she needs me to focus on. And she will actually add that to my Google Calendar. So in Google now, there's a task list that attaches to your calendar. So she's got access to that. So she will actually put my items into my to-do list for me. So for me, all I'm doing all the time is going back to my to-do list digitally and going, what do I have to do? What have I got to get done? And the best part about it again is that she is monitoring what I'm getting completed. And if there are things that are starting to become urgent on that, she'll bring those to the top for me. So I've also got somebody that's helping me stay focused on the key practical things that I need to be doing and what's urgent, not just busy.
Dare to dream, kids. Dare to dream that one day you too can have someone writing your to do list. What an absolute goal business that is.
It's
Oh
so
my.
it's fantastic because what it does, and we'll sit down once a week and I'll try and download my head, so all the things that I've said I'd do, or things that clients want me to do, or proposals or whatever, and she just notes those into my to-do list for me, so that I'm not having to worry about hundreds of pieces of paper, and I've got one central place that I can then allocate other tasks to the other team members, or just make sure that I get that done by a due date. So it does make life easier. So your method of what you were doing there is 100% perfect, because that's exactly what I used to do. And Sunday night was my night of being able to check out and how to allocate that through the gaps in my week. But then also just being able to use technology a bit more with a team member in Teams, it does make it easier when you're using an electronic format.
There you go. I need to get an assistant who can write my to do list. We'll work on that. Very good.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
just,
great hack. It's a great
but just,
hack.
but just think about it. Like, the thing is, if I'm going through my week, I've got a responsibility to be accountable to my to-do list, because guess what? She can see it. She
Oh,
knows what I've got on. She knows the things that I need to get done. So I don't want to let her down, and I certainly don't want to let me down. So
is this
it's a
is
good
this
way.
is this Rachel? Is it?
This is
Do we know
Rachel.
her?
Yeah.
Right. So is Rachel a little bit spicy so that if you don't get things done, she lets you know? She
Oh
got
yeah.
that.
Totally.
She
Oh,
got that.
she keeps on reminding me exactly those priority pieces that I need to be working on, and that's good for me, right? Because when there's a lot going on, it's sometimes really easy for us to do what's in front of us, instead of looking at it more strategically about the things we actually need to be focusing on. So it's a good check.
Shout out to Rachel, because I know that you force her to listen to this as part of her
I
daily
do.
job. All right. All right. I've got to have some fun here. Number 3, numbers, sheet tracking, activity, and graphing. Monthly results in brackets.
So this is all about that you've actually got a numbers sheet. And what I like to ask teams to do is actually to start getting some metrics in their business that they start to record, because the metrics in your business is what starts to show you the trend for your business. It starts to show you what you're actually getting done. And it also is a good way of showing the success you're having. So the ability for us to be able to get a numbers sheet or a way of tracking your activity and recording what you're doing. And then the second part of it is to have a think about how you're going to graph it. Now, why do you reckon I want to graph it for? Why would you reckon graphing it would be a good idea?
Oh, because you're a hip visual learner kind of guy.
And also I want to see the trend, right? I want to see the
Very cool.
trend. Because yes, I've got a whole lot of numbers on a piece of paper. That's great. But if I start graphing it and you start showing a trend, it actually starts motivating your team, right? It starts to get them thinking, actually, some of the stuff here is working really well. We're going in the right direction. Let's keep doing it. And it just keeps you on track. Whereas if it's numbers on a sheet and it's lost and we're not sure what it means or where it's going, that's a real way of losing momentum, especially if you're not that motivated about a particular task that you need to do.
Yeah, and if you're good at not holding yourself accountable, you'll hide the numbers.
Totally.
Because you won't look at them. And,
And
I don't think there's anything more motivating than a downward turning worm, right?
Absolutely. But also imagine on an upward turning one. Like that's another one too as well, right? Because if you're already realizing that actually I'm being more successful and I'm getting good results out of what I'm doing, it just motivates you to do more, right? Otherwise, if you don't track it and you're not getting a good feel that you're going in the right direction, that is hard. That is difficult.
Yeah, look, I love data and I love tracking data. So, in particular, how many prospects am I hitting? How many of them are converting into conversations, and how many of those conversations are closing into clients? And then what's the
100%.
value? What's the average value of the client? Now, I use a great platform which is pretty well hidden in the world at the moment, called Launchpad,
Okay.
which is a CRM but it's like a lead tracking program. So it tells me when people are buying my book. It tells me when people are going to my website. It tells me when I'm making phone calls. It tells me when people are replying on SMS. So it tells me where people are in their journey along the path to me, then working with them. It probably does 100 million more things, but I'm just using for that at the moment. But I think they're the 3 really important metrics: is how many prospects are you reaching every month? Or, are you talking monthly? Yeah. So how many prospects are you reaching every month? How many of them are you actually having a conversation with? Because no point, I know people are buying and selling houses at the moment without ever meeting the agents, because they don't want to go through 4 or 5 1-hour presentations from 4 or 5 different agents. They just want to sell the house for a record price. If you can get me that, you don't need to come and give me a presentation. And we'll be talking to Lisa Novak next week or so about this. She's the master of it. So it's about reading the room. So prospects, conversations, and then ultimately the one is conversions. But ensuring the important bit to, I think, connect to conversions is what's your average value per client? Because it's no use getting 100 extra conversions a month if you've dropped your price to $1.
That's right. So have a think about this. So if you're tracking your numbers and you're looking at those numbers from initial connect with the customer through to the actual face-to-face meeting to the opportunity to present your business opportunity and then your ability to close, just by tracking that and then maybe even graphing the result, it will show you which parts of the transaction you're really good at and the parts that you're not. Because if you're doing a whole lot of conversations, but you're not getting appointments, you need to improve the quality of those conversations. If you're getting the meeting, but you're putting your presentation forward about your proposal, but you're not getting it accepted, then maybe you have to either change the proposal or most cases, improve your presentation. So those are the keys of collecting that information on that tracking sheet starts to give you ideas and positions where you need to focus on in improving your service.
Yeah, I think that's an incredible point, especially when it comes to real estate and appraisals and that whole
Oh,
formula, where you get people who say, I got 10 appraisals this week. It's like, okay, that's great, but how many did you convert?
that's right. And this is the part right now is seriously like conversion is everything because there's lots of options, there's lots of ways of doing it. The ability for you to secure the opportunity and convert it is actually a really important skill. And this is where I say with this accountability piece, if you don't hold your team accountable and you don't are not aware of what they're doing in the space, you are literally potentially losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'll give you an example. Last year, I was working with an office and I went through the day with them, did a whole lot of work with the individual teams. And at the end of the day, I wrote up a number which was $350,000 on the whiteboard. And the owner and the sales manager came in and I said to them, "Can you just tell me what that $350,000 represents?" And they were like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure." I said, "That is the income that you have lost in the last 4 weeks based on your sales team missing opportunities in the field." It was $350,000 because actually, as I went through the day, I was listening to the stories of the salespeople telling me how they missed this one and that one didn't go so well, and I wasn't so good on that one, and I didn't have my presentation correct on that one, and I was overpriced on this one, and I was underpriced on that one, and I just totaled that up during the day. And what do you reckon the owner said to me at the end of the day?
Darren, when are you coming back?
We've got to fix this. He said,
Mm.
I never knew this was the problem. But you see, because they didn't have the metrics in the business and they weren't collecting that data, they didn't have a clue.
Mm. Crazy. Crazy. But that's how you got to break it down for people to understand. And
Yep.
people who fly blind, they never see this stuff. And you see businesses that go broke, and even some businesses that are big, or they grow too fast, or the wrong people are in the wrong spots, and
Yep.
then they fall over. And then when you actually go in and research them, or do a bit of reading about them, or you speak to people who are involved, you actually realize that they're not doing this stuff. And
That's right.
then you fully understand, almost like a forensic accountant, or you're using a forensic business brain. You go, well, hold on a minute, I'm a one man band and I do this. Like,
That's it.
and I got to do it myself. I'm Mr. Marketing. I'm Mr.
Yep.
I was going to say Mr. Executioner, but that's not the business I'm in. Um, I've got to execute the business. I'm the consultant. I'm the trainer. I'm the speaker. I'm everything. If I can do that, you got 50 staff. Why aren't you doing that?
And that's the key, right? And that's where building this accountability into your business is the easiest way for you to increase your revenue and increase your success and get your team feeling like you love them.
So a lot of this accountability I'm starting to get a feel, Darren, is about not flying blind.
Absolutely. And making the team feel that you have a clear direction and you've put the structure in place to get there.
Mm.
And this is important to do that.
And this brings us to point 4, which is weekly one-on-one meetings with manager or mentor. So if you're operating a small business by yourself, or only a handful of staff, then you're having meetings with your mentor over the phone, whatever it is. Just
Yep. A
make
check-in.
sure that they hold you to
Check-in.
account. Now, you don't
Yep.
want your mentor to always be Mr. Friendly, right? They've got to have some knowledge, and they've got to have enough front in them, or enough animal in them to dog in the fight, to let you know if you're not doing it right. And so that's why I advise, don't choose your friends, because
But isn't that caring?
caring.
Like if you are a manager or a mentor that holds your team accountable and helps and supports them, isn't that actually what they want? Isn't that the actual realization that you actually care about their outcome and that they want to be successful in their role and get the outcome they deserve? I've
Mm.
seen so many businesses where managers and owners say to me, "Oh, Darren, my high performers, they don't want a meeting with me." When the high performer leaves their company and shifts to another one, and I go and interview them and say, "Why did you leave?" The standard line is,
He never spoke
no,
to me.
they never spoke to me. They never
Mm.
cared about me. They never even understood. But a lot of managers think that high performers don't need this. And in fact, a lot of high performers need this more than ever. And just giving them the structure and focusing their attention on where they get their results is the best and easiest way to settle their life down and give them better balance.
What is the number one reason you think that more businesses don't do this? Because they do group meetings,
Oh, of
but the
course,
one-on-ones
because
they don't do.
yeah, because a lot of the time is they want to make the sales team feel don't want to have those hard conversations, or they don't want to, but want to do it as a team, or want to talk about the team number. Where well, we think about it, if you've got a person in your team that's doing it really well and doing a great job, they actually need a pat on the back. But the person at the other end of the ship who's not doing what they need to be doing, not making the calls and not doing the level of work required, they need a completely separate message and a different message. And trying to do that in a group team meeting is crazy. But the group result is something that you want to track as well. So at the end of the month, sharing the group result is a great way to reward the group for their collective effort. And it's a really good motivator for our high performers and our low performers that they need to either step up or continue doing what they're doing. So it's a really good way there of, yes, you've still got to have that team result that you're all collectively working for, because that's what the business result is about, but you still have to talk to those individuals. And I say 15 minutes once a week is worth every moment of time in helping your team achieve what they need to achieve.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I wonder why it has fallen by the wayside, the one-on-one meetings. I wonder if it's it's the changing world, the influence of the millennials who are softer. Well, they're a bit softer and fluffier and a bit more sensitive. So maybe managers are the millennials, and so they don't want to have the uncomfortable conversation, so they're just avoiding it altogether. Or it's Generation X and older not wanting to upset the newbies. I mean, there has to be some sort of dynamic going on here where it's like, I don't want to have to say things that maybe can be held against me later because it's a grey area that this person's underperforming, and if I give them too much of a rocket, so I'll just do it in a group.
And again, most of the time it's because we haven't got good data. We haven't collected good data, right? So if we haven't got good data, it's really hard to have these type of conversations, because you can't say I think and you might be and I'm not sure what you're doing. You've got to have the data set to be able to show this is the trend I'm seeing in your workflow at the moment, and this is the support that I want to give you. It just makes the conversations much more real, actually more supportive, and it stops all of the what I would call argumentative stuff. Because if you haven't got the detail or you haven't got the insights into what they're actually doing, it can become quite difficult to hold somebody accountable. So just putting that together a bit, I think, is really important.
All right, I do too. Point 5, and I think you touched on this a little bit, maybe. Point 5, celebrate your success with loved ones. But I also think it's important to celebrate your success with your workmates.
Totally. But the reason why I put celebrate with loved ones is, especially if you're in an industry where you're working late at night, or you have to be out early in the morning, or you're having to spend more time over a certain project in the weekend, or whatever it is, the big part about this is when you succeed or you achieve or you tick some boxes off, share that success with your loved ones, share that with and as you say, share it with your team, so that you get a sense of achievement. Because there's nothing worse than having a great month or achieving great numbers, and then the boss turns around and says, that was fantastic, now we've got to sell 350 cars next month. Like the ability to be able to just have a moment to go, we sold 290 this month, it's a fantastic effort, and here's a glass of wine, here's a glass of beer, or a chance to go out for dinner, or whatever it might be, to celebrate that success with your loved ones, to show that I'm being successful in my job and I've done a great job this month, is such a powerful way to motivate your team.
I just had a thought. You've got well done, George. You sold 350 cars this month. You better sell 400 next month, or you've ruined Darren's graph.
You can't change the graph.
You've stuffed it for everyone. Why don't you sell less? Don't ruin the graph.
Don't ruin the graph.
I agree. Great point. And on to point 6. Value every moment of time in your day. Now, this is something that 2022 has brought home for me,
Yeah.
is that I have become, in a sense, more selfish with my time. I think, over the last 2 years, maybe 4, very happy to help anyone who asks me to help them in any
Yep.
areas, whether it was
Yep.
the local kids' sports clubs, whether it was my mate who owns a pizza shop up the road, whether it was my parents who live down the coast. The moment anyone rang and said, "Are you busy?" "Oh, not for you. What do you need?" And that was allowing me not to be accountable to my actual
Yeah.
business, because I was like, wow, I had to go
But
help
you're
my
busy,
parents.
right? Yeah, but you're busy. I'm busy. I got lots going on.
Couldn't have fitted any more in that day. All right.
Yeah.
Doesn't pay the bills, Darren. Being kind and generous with your time doesn't pay the bills always. You've got to be careful.
I don't want you to get giddy on me on that one because I do believe in being generous where you can and helping where you can. But one of the things that this came for me was at the start of last year. And one of the things for me was obviously as my business has grown, I've become, in demand more, and it's grown and grown to a point where, in some weeks and some months, there wasn't a spare day. And I mean, there wasn't a spare day that I wasn't somewhere traveling to do an event or to work with a team or to help a business. And what I started to realize was that actually I had to become a lot more brutal. When I use the word brutal with my time, I had to be very, very aware that even 10 minutes or 15 minutes during my day actually became really valuable. So it meant that when I was sitting on a plane, I had a project to get completed while I was on the plane. Do you know what? It might have been just to have a rest, chill out, and actually not do anything on the plane, but that was my project, right? So that there was clear plans about how I was using my time and being able to get completion using that time as effectively as possible, because I still want to be home with the kids for dinner when I can. I still want to be able to do some exercise when I can. And I still want to make sure that in my plan there is the time for me and Jules and to be able to do the things that we want to do. So it's a case of just really appreciating that I actually need to plan my time and not just let the time be consumed. So I'm not sure that's because we're getting older, Jonathan, but the times definitely becomes more valuable. And I think that's what we need to do.
I think it also comes down to a respect for yourself.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
sitting there. If you're sitting there, your business isn't growing at the speed that you want. You're awake at night. You're feeling sick in the guts. You're not wanting to have tough conversations. You know, but then you start every morning by watching half an hour of YouTube while you have a cup of tea. There's a lack of respect there for yourself, in a sense. If everything's going great and you're happy and that's where you want to be, and that's part of your routine, fine, do it. But then you
But
can't
as
on the
long
other
as
side
it's planned,
complain.
but as long as it's planned, do you notice it's got to be, because you've got to value that time. And one of the things, if you're going to value your time, is you've got to plan how you're going to use it. And this is the part, right, is to be accountable to your day and to your week. You've got to use that time as effectively as possible, because seriously, we can all let conversations, I mean, one of the key areas that I'll do here for many teams is to say, stop having 1 hour meetings.
Yep.
Like I have a 12-minute meeting, a 30-minute meeting, and a 45-minute meeting. That's it. We don't want to have an hour, because everyone puts in their diary, I have an hour meeting. Well, why? You can still do the same amount of work in 45 minutes and have 15 minutes to put into another part of your business or project that helps you move further along towards achieving that business plan.
And if anyone's out there that's ever dealt with Darren on the phone, like, I thought that my mother-in-law was the fastest hanger-upper of phones. Like, she can say goodbye and hang up halfway through you saying goodbye. But Darren, I don't think he even lets me get past good. It's like, all right, gotta go. And then go, ting, beep, 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 beep. It's done. You're a master of it. You value every second. I think it's especially important if you're trying to grow or scale a business. You've got to have your priorities right. It's not easy. Business isn't easy. Don't fall into the trap from all the Facebook millionaire, billionaires, 10Xers, going to grow you overnight doing nothing, 6 minutes a day, millionaire formula, blueprint, whatever. Like, don't fall for that. Business is hard.
Yeah.
And, at the start, it's the hardest. So do the work early, reap the rewards later when you can bring people in and enjoy. But especially that first 2-3 years, I mean, that's launchpad type stuff, and every moment counts. So, that's it. That's number 6. Now, Darren, you promised at the start of the show that there were 7 tips. I only organised 6 slides. So I'm very interested in this 7th tip because I don't know what it is.
So the reason why I've added this one in is because it really hit me when I hear teams saying to me, I'm really busy and I've got a lot on. And when we talked before about having your daily task list and building that prioritizing in, so the one I just want to add on the end here that is really important for you to be considering is that your customer or prospect is the number one activity always. So one of the things that I say with teams in their businesses is to get this realization that you have got to really value your customer or your prospect as your number one activity always. And just by doing that, you're so clever. Yeah, this is why you're so clever, Mr. Craig.
But for those on the podcast, I just created the graphic for.
Yes, that was very good.
7.
Well done. And that speed. But just realizing that when we value our time and we've got a plan and we're doing all the stuff that we're busy with, you just have to appreciate the importance of our customer and our prospects, because they're the ones that build and develop and grow our businesses, because they're the ones that use our services. So when you got the opportunities and, look, I'm sorry, I'm so busy at the moment, I can't do that because I've got to go and change the water in the goldfish bowl. Well, actually, you need to be thinking about where is the priority of your time. And I just want to keep you remembering, number one always is the prospect of working with your customer or a prospect in your business, because we cannot get away from accountability to that particular person because they pay our bills.
Unless, of course, the goldfish are your prospects or customers.
That's right.
I must admit that this is a great point, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this. Mark Novak from Novak Properties in Sydney, he is the other half of Lisa Novak. They're married, and I spent a day with him on the northern beaches of Sydney. They're a real estate agency that I think is growing faster than any other agency in Australia at the moment. And on his car keys, he had, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 little AirPod cases. And I was like,
right.
Why have you got so many AirPod cases? And he goes, because whenever I'm driving, I'm ringing people.
Yep.
I'm ringing my network. And I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah. And the AirPods go, I ring so much that I get about an hour of calls out of each set of AirPods. And so then I put them away, and then I move on to the black case, and he wears the black case out, and then he goes to the white or the red case, and then he wears those out. And by the time he's worn those out, the white case at the start's recharged.
Love it.
That's how much he loves his customers and prospects.
Yep.
That whenever he's driving from job to job to job, he's always working his network and staying in touch, making sure they're happy. Hey, I sold you a house last week, or I sold you a shop last week. Have you got the paperwork? Have you moved in? How's it going to go? When do you reckon you'll be open? He's just getting all this information so that, when the shop opens, guess who's down there day one to have a look?
Absolutely. And that's the type of, and more or less, I would say to you, it's the system that's put in place. It's the ability to put that structure in that system and to buy the 3 sets of AirPods to be able to build your system in your car to be able to do that. And as soon as you realize it's as simple as doing that, because every time you get in the car, what do you see? My 3 sets of AirPods, right? Yes. So which reminds me that I've got to do my calls to the customers who pay your bills. And I just really want to try and make sure that we reference accountability with this key area of knowing that customer or that prospect are the people that we need to be spending our time with. And the more systems you can put in place to be accountable to that customer, you are going to do amazingly well.
It gets even better. You hop in Mark's car. It's a live streaming studio. He's got
Love
a designated phone connected to
it. Yep.
the windscreen on a holder. He's got headphones that come down from the roof that he can put in so there's no fold back. He's got a microphone on the dash. Not only that, he's got a spare phone in the center console in case that one has any problems that he can just substitute into his system. I mean, the guy knows how to keep communicating, and I think it's that whole recency and frequency. So when you're talking about having them always number one, that's not just caring about them from a distance. That's from recency and frequency. How recently did you speak to someone, and how frequently are you following them up?
100%.
That's it.
Love it.
So, Darren, that's our seven tips for accountability, your 7 tips of accountability, which I find fascinating and, also a little bit gut grinding at times. But I think if anyone's business is feeling stagnant, if someone feels as though their business is stuck and it's not going where they want to go and they're not quite sure what's wrong, if they follow those 7 steps, they're going to get a pretty clear picture.
You watch what changes real quick.
Yeah, if they implement them.
If they implement it, right? It's the simple steps, and just putting that process into play changes a business almost overnight, because the very next day we look at our tasks and our purpose very differently. And to change a culture within a business to become very accountable and to achieve more is actually the most fun you can have. And to see your team enjoying their success is fantastic. So it's a simple process. It's a good process to put in place. And I just want to encourage you out there to make sure you do this in your business and reap the rewards.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Don't forget that we're going to have the A4 business plan download link in the description somewhere. So make sure you find that. Or if you're on YouTube, it might be in the comments. We'll try and put it in the description, but sometimes they don't like links. So it will be there. Find it, download it, use it. And re-watch this episode if you're having any issues in identifying what might be wrong with your business. Now, Darren, because I like to throw in some curveballs here and there, I'm going to hold you accountable for something.
Far away.
In the next 7 days, you're going to go and get yourself a microphone.
Roger that.
And that'll make everyone's experience way better.
That is my job.
Yeah. Great episode, mate. Thanks for your insights. Really appreciate it. For those listening at home or on whatever podcast platform or watching on YouTube, we thank you for your attention and can't wait to see you on the next episode. Share it with your friends. Let us know what you think, because reviews on platforms like iTunes, podcasts, Spotify, all that, if you give it a rating, it helps push it up and helps other people find it. And that's all we're trying to do here is help people grow their businesses and be successful so that they can enjoy better lives. That's what it's all about.
So is. And also, too, just a reminder, like if you've got a question or you've got a challenge in your business that you'd like some help with, where it always helps us in terms of topics or content that we can delve into and give you some insights into. So if you've got a challenge or an issue or a problem in your business you'd like us to have a chat about, please don't hesitate to send that through to us, and we'd love to help.
We're very open to forensically dissecting anyone's business problems and offering our advice.
Love it. Awesome.
Thank you, guys. Peace, stay safe, and see you on the next one.
Take care. See you soon.